I'm Air Force retired Colonel Bob Dutton. I flew the A and the B-26 from 1963 to 1969 in both Vietnam and in Thailand. Yeah, both the B and the A-26 was designed as a close air support aircraft in support of ground troops. In Vietnam, we used it as train and convoy escort because of they would come under attack from people that were in hiding. So we would go up the tracks ahead of the trains. We would go ahead of a convoy to help keep them safe. We would take off from Bien Hoa and fly up to a little strip called Phuc Vinh, and you'd pick up your forward air controller there, and off into your area you would go. And then they would mark and we would strike. One of the things that we ran into in Vietnam was our favorite old rules of engagement. And in the protecting of these trains and convoys, I had experienced a couple times where, sure enough, there was an ambush waiting for them. As we came across, the troops broke and started running. They were running right in front of me. And the rule of engagement was, at first, they had to shoot at you before you could shoot at them. And then when we claimed that, yes, they had shot at us, they said, you don't have a hole in your airplane. You have to take a hit before you can shoot. It was a little ridiculous, but we learned to live with it. The other missions that we had were in '63 was night fort defense for the special forces. We would have a bird on alert. We had them on alert all the time, but at night especially. And if we got a call from one of the special forces camps that they were coming under attack, a C-47 flare ship would go down. We would go down. We had our own flares, but we would go down, and we had the endurance. We could stay over these guys for about 4 hours. And we could break off an attack, and then we just pull back, and if the Viet Cong came back, then we could come in, and as you know, the fort was a triangle, and we just go down the sides with napalm or guns or whatever, and get them through the night. The A has the 8 50 calibers in the nose. Now the B model had 6 50 calibers in the nose, except for 2 of the airplanes that we had over there. One was we called the Black Widow. She was painted black. She had the 8-gun nose, but also had 3 50s in each wing. So you had 14 forward-firing 50 calibers. I got to fly it on 2 occasions, and on one occasion I actually turned on all the guns, and the cockpit went IFR with all the cordite and smoke coming in from everywhere. Very, very effective weapons. So we have the guns. You'll see on the outboard stations, we have the rocket pods. We carried napalm. We carried everything from 100-pound white phosphorus bombs, 250s, 500s, 750s, and 1,000-pounders. It was a heavy airplane. I mean, you had to muscle it around, and we got a lot stronger as we got into the training. But no, it wasn't difficult. It gave you very good stall warning if you were getting yourself in trouble, which I did on a couple of occasions. But it would let you know. It had the power to get you out of it and it was a very honest airplane. I mean, it didn't do crazy things.
My name is Odine Balmas. Everybody calls me Stretch, and I flew this airplane in Vietnam from February '68 to January '69. This is a close air support airplane, probably the greatest close air support airplane they ever made. It weighs about 11,500 pounds. It could carry 12,000 pounds of ordnance. It could do about anything. Whatever you hung under the wing, that's what it could do. This is 2.75 rockets, and this has a cap on it, and I think it had 300 bomblets in it, and I usually drop 2, and It would cover a rectangle about 20 meters wide and about 200 meters long, and everything in that rectangle was dead except the grass, even the grass. And these are general purpose bombs, look like 500 pounders. And this looks like napalm, and a 500 pound napalm. And this is called a stub, and that we usually carried 750s on the stub. And the other wing is just the same. And these are 20 millimeter cannons. And had a bad habit of not extracting the brass. And if it didn't extract the brass, and the next round in was HE or armor-piercing incendiary, it would detonate when it hit the brass. And that happened to me in my last sortie and set my wing on fire. This is E model, and that's side-by-side seats. We had single seat, that was H and J, and that was what I preferred to fly in. And this was kind of like flying a dump truck after you flew the H and J for a little bit.
If you had to describe this aircraft in just like 3 words, what would you describe it as?
Best there is. Best one I ever flew.
Would you say that you'll never ever be able to forget this aircraft?
Never. I still dream about it.
Hi, I'm retired Colonel Tommy Hull, retired after 28 years, and I flew the H-3 for 3 years. The H-3 was designed as a rescue helicopter, and in true fashion, special operations always steal stuff from everybody else, so they found this airplane, it fit the special operations need, and so they actually took a whole squadron of these airplanes and brought them here to Hurlburt Field back in the late 70s. This is a great airplane to fly, but the exception is it's very underpowered. So it took a lot of finesse to fly, much unlike the H-53, which had a lot of power. This one was like a little go-kart, but you had to use a lot of finesse, because if you didn't, you could get yourself into trouble. Well, as you can see, it really doesn't have anything that's built into it. So what they would do for the rescue mission is you could put and mount a machine gun in the right door or in the left window. And so basically, if they ran into a challenge, you had a machine gun, and usually had 2 different types. They had a 7.62 and a minigun, and which was purely a defensive kind of weapon. If the airplane got itself into a hover or was going in or out of a landing zone, was taking on fire, it could return fire, usually just to get the heck out of there. Again, when because the way the airplane was designed, it has a ramp, and which makes it very easy to load outsized things, to include people, in and out of the ramp. The PJs, a lot of the Army folks would love to jump out of helicopters, because literally they just run out the back, and there's very little initial shock or anything, because the helicopter goes much slower than an airplane. Although we always used to kid the PJs by saying, we'll let you jump out of the helicopter, but if you do that, we're going to race you to the ground. And if you kick this out of trim, you can actually fall just as fast as a guy parachuting. One thing about the H-3 that made it the most unique helicopter is if you take a look at the front and the bottom, it's shaped like the hull of a boat. And this helicopter is capable of landing on water. Landing, shutting down, starting back up, and taking off again. And one of the fun things that we used to do in order to prevent corrosion and not actually take it out into the Gulf or the Sound is we would land and do our practice landings, takeoffs, running landings on freshwater. Well, the only freshwater around here is over at the Hurlburt Golf Course. And I will tell you that coming over the trees on an approach, the biggest freshwater lake is right by the 18th green, and the look on the golfers' faces when you come over them and they see you land in the water is, again, just priceless. A lot of fun. Wouldn't have traded it for the world.